Welcome to another episode of TechHour. I am your host, Simone Smith Bean, and today we have with us an amazing guest, Brian Jones, President and CEO of AGIO Digital. Brian is no stranger to the tech world. He established AGIO in April of 2021, including a subsidiary AGIO Fund Services. Brian is the president and CEO of AGIO Digital. Prior to setting up AGIO, he built a successful track record of leadership in fund administration space, private banking, portfolio management, product development, and corporate governance. Brian is recognized as being instrumental in multiple advancements in Bahamian financial services, and he studied economics at St. John's University. I want to welcome Brian to the show. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, Simone. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here in Tech Hour. So, Brian, here at Tech Hour, we like to put the who's who of digital assets business in the hot seat. So, we want to hear all about AGIO Digital. Tell us how you got started.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so I actually got started out of necessity, right? They say, I guess innovation is the mother of, comes from necessity, right? And so basically, I got a lot of demand from a few of my clients in the fund space, basically wanting to set up crypto funds, right? And so started down the path of setting up these funds and realized that the infrastructure just wasn't right. It wasn't able to accommodate this new technology. There was a certain level of expectation that, the experience of investing in crypto in the traditional world using a fund should be very similar to what's being experienced, in this decentralized world of finance we see today, right? Where everything is at your fingertips, is user directed, self-custody is the norm, right? And none of that is the norm in the traditional world, right? It's a lot of friction and delays. And so I found myself at this intersection of trying to be innovative, but at the same time conform with regulations, best practices, and standards in the traditional financial world, right? And so so when you ask how I got started, I built about 20 years, almost 20 years career in traditional financial services, right? And this dealing with funds for this period of time, you see a lot of strategies, right? You see a lot of activity. And what I noticed is that there were some fundamental changes occurring in our industry, right? And so not just, having to deal with friction of new technology coming into the space, but when I say fundamental changes, there were sweeping changes, right? So when I first came into the industry around 2001, is when we first saw those first sweeping changes. So in 2004 is when I really came into the industry. But in 2001, we saw the introduction of AML standards, KYC, right? And that eliminated, what was the norm back then. You could have had numbered accounts, total privacy. You had bearer shares, right? Where basically just the holder of these share certificates was the owner, and they could hand them around. All of that had to be phased out. When I came into the industry initially, 2004, that was the deadline for that old regime to be phased out. June 30th, 2004. I started my career, I think I started on my job around June 15th. And so literally at that same time, the industry was seeing a sea change. And so I became part of that change at that time, okay? What was seen to be the future of financial services back then was the funds industry. Okay, and so I leaned into the smart funds, providing regulated investment vehicles coming out of this more opaque, loosely regulated, privacy regime, right? So one of more transparency and so on and so forth. And so we saw a lot of innovation take off in wealth management and private banking and trust services, a lot of product development, product innovation. I got involved with the Bahamas Financial Services Board as a director. I've been on the board for about 8 years. I led the the fintech working group. In fact, I started the fintech working group in 2018. But several years before that, I was chairing the funds working group, creating new funds products, a new smart fund, for example, the Smart Fund Model 7. We also created the new Icon investment condominium fund vehicle. You see, and so there's a lot of innovation happening from a structuring standpoint, from a compliance standpoint. And when I started seeing now, okay, the technology is now starting to take over, right? We started seeing this new terms, new jargons. Fintech became a thing, right? Less than 10 years ago, it became a term that is now ubiquitous in the financial services, right? And when I saw, okay, we see another metamorphosis about to happen in the industry because of the introduction of cryptocurrency and blockchain. I couldn't stand idly by and watch myself in the industry find themselves in catch-up mode, right? Which is what I saw when I first came into the industry. The industry was in flux, but most people weren't thinking about the future. They were thinking about how do we remediate the past, and they were missing business opportunities, right? And so we got ahead of the change, and that's how we got started.
They say that 1 month is like a year in the technology space because things change so quickly. Financial technology wasn't even a term, like you said, 10 years ago. And now we're looking at management of so many different types of assets. So you the space has really evolved. Now, where are your company is really focused on providing support and technology to assist with management. Tell us more about that aspect of your business.
Absolutely. So we are an app-based platform, okay, but we're a fully regulated financial services company as well. So we have a few licenses. First one AGIO Digital has is a financial and corporate services provider license, right? So with that, we focus on corporate structuring and administration. And so all the auxiliary support functions that come with setting up an offshore company or offshore fund, right? We take that from the conceptualization process straight through incorporation. As a matter of fact, we've automated the incorporation process to the greatest extent possible already, right? And so we've taken a traditional, very simple and traditional business line and utilized, we've built our own onboarding module where we've integrated what we believe are the best in class tech platforms into our tech stack, like such as SumSub for doing KYC on an automated basis, using AI for document verification, et cetera, right? And so that's the corporate services part of the business. Then, as you mentioned, we also have AGIO Fund Services as a subsidiary of AGIO Digital, which is a fund administration company. We're an unrestricted administrator. So what that really means is that we can issue licenses for smart funds and professional funds as well. So not only are we setting them up and incorporating them, we issue the license ourselves in-house, right? So it's a turnkey solution for launching private investment funds or funds that are going to be distributed to accredited investors, right? And the third element of our business that really ties the whole thing together, in my view, is our digital asset business, which is also under AGIO Digital. Now, the digital asset business is new. We just received our registration this summer. And what we're doing with that business is providing, so we're registered as a digital wallet provider as well, whereby we're able to provide custodial wallets as well as hot wallets to facilitate on-ramp and off-ramp into the investment vehicles that we administer. You see, and so I was just going to add one point, right? And so the last point is that the wallets we're just activating some additional functionality around those wallets that allow investors, fund managers, or any customers actually to buy and sell crypto on our platform as well, like an exchange. And so that's what's forthcoming.
So traditionally, these services have really been developed for foreign investment to engage here within the Bahamas. But tell me how your platform is really allowing for Bahamians to be involved in the investment space, especially when it comes to digital assets.
Certainly, certainly. Yes, and so we were launching a number of products available to Bahamians. So the first one that's currently available is actually the AGIO Gold Sector Fund, and that's going to be quickly followed by our soon-to-be launched AGIO Digital Assets Fund and AGIO Real Estate Fund. So we have a number of investment vehicles that are designed for Bahamian investors, being distributed in B dollars, and you can access it right through our website. And as a matter of fact, whether you want to subscribe with Bahamian dollars directly, or even just swipe your credit card, we have that ability, right? And so, in addition to that, Bahamians would be able to fund their AGIO wallets using their credit cards as well, right? And so it'd be a very smooth on ramp for Bahamians to come and use our products.
That's awesome. So you're going to be able to provide access to financial markets that Bahamians may not have already been have access to.
That's right. So I think Bahamians have, traditionally been limited, right, to the domestic capital markets to a very great extent because of our exchange-controlled regime. And with our first fund, the AGIO Gold Sector Fund, we were able to obtain exchange control approval, central bank approval, to offer this essentially an international investment fund to Bahamian investors, right? And so the additional funds that are coming down the platform would fall under the same regime, if you will, right? Where there are certain limitations on how far we can go, but there's plenty room for us to grow this sector and bring many Bahamians on board, so they can begin to start to diversify their investment portfolios into alternative asset classes. Right, you might have gathered that that's our focus. It's the full spectrum of alternatives, and not just digital assets.
Certainly, I think Bahamians are craving for another opportunity to grow wealth in a real way. Exchange control rules really puts a lot of handcuffs on the growth ability of our investment portfolios, and it's at times I wonder why we still have the exchange control rules in place. Much like other countries like Cayman and Bermuda and other places, um, they don't even put those types of restrictions on their local persons, especially when it comes to investing and all of that. And so that is awesome that
Mm-hmm.
you will be able to really foster that aspect of it. But as far as the industry is concerned, do you see that there has been a lot of uptake locally for the type of products and services that you're offering?
I think there's a lot of demand, right? And so we're just launching, and we're really going to be testing the market over the next several weeks as we start engaging more publicly. As a matter of fact, this is my first public engagement, about any of these products and about the launch of our company. Because what we've done, we've really been we've done a soft launch over the past several months, where we've been hardening our technology with our initial grouping of clients, right? And so into our gold fund, which is the only fund that's currently live, we've raised close to $1 million so far. Again, very passively in the market, and so we're now looking to hit, I would say at least $5 to $10 million range within the next several months. And so we're definitely going to be out there educating the public about what it is we're offering, what the value proposition is for each of the individual products, how we feel as though that they're all differentiated within the market, and that what we're bringing as well are sound investments, right? Investments that are in sectors that where there's clear demand, right? So again, focus on gold, the world's safe haven asset, where many investors flee to when there's a flight to safety, right? In a crisis, we're seeing Bitcoin start to fulfill that role as well. And I wrote an essay a couple of years ago, which a follow-up version of that is about to be released, where I compare gold to Bitcoin,
Ooh,
right?
that's sacrilege. That some spaces would find that to be sacrilege.
Exactly, but I argue the point, and in fact, you can check it out. It's this article is currently published on our website, the original version. I think that was published in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, or 2020, in 2020, and I argue the point that Bitcoin is basically a digital version of gold, but it's better at being gold than gold itself in many ways. But yes, because it's transportable, right? Unlike gold, it's what they call a lumpy asset. It's heavy. It's costly to store, but it's super durable, and that's one of the reasons why it's always been the safe haven asset. But you know, Bitcoin can generally do all the things that gold can do, and then some, right? When it comes to being a store of value, and we're seeing that play out right now, right? While the world is topsy turvy, and we're seeing uh, there's a risk of inflation and deflation. Like there's so much uncertainty. When you have a very high level of uncertainty, there is a tendency to move towards what is called hard assets, real
Absolutely.
assets, right? And funny enough, or ironically, I would say, is that alternative assets have mostly been restricted to institutional investors, right? Pension funds, university endowments, corporations. They're the ones that go and they buy the big real estate commercial buildings. They go out and invest, across the spectrum of private equity. And as a matter of fact, the minimum ticket size to get into like some of the best private equity funds or venture capital funds are so high, is prohibitive, right? Even for accredited investors, it's out of reach. If the minimum ticket size is $1 million to get into a private equity fund, the even
That
the
leaves out a lot. That leaves out
even a
a very
wealthy
big mass.
exactly. Even certain wealthy individuals wouldn't be able to allocate $1 million cash to one particular investment, right? If you have $1 million allocated to one particular investment in your portfolio, that must be a 10, 20, $30 million portfolio, right? Because you need to diversify as a principle. And so what we're seeing now with investment funds, and why we're offering funds to the market, because it's a way for us to pool capital and access these types of investments that are not accessible by the individual, right?
Certainly.
And so this is where we're going with our real estate fund, right? And one of the things that we're looking to take advantage of is listing this fund on BISX, Bahamas International Stock Exchange, to take advantage of the tax benefits and carve-outs that are there as well, for listed funds. And so this is how in other jurisdictions, REITs really tend to dominate the commercial real estate space, and they generate tremendous long-term value and consistent income for their investors. And if you look at most developed countries, a lot of the real estate development is driven by private investment funds, right? That engage in public-private partnerships and so on. So I argue the point here that the Bahamas is undercapitalized and underdeveloped, and it's part of that reason is simply because our capital markets are not as dynamic as they should be. The velocity of money, I think, in our economy is too slow, and it doesn't find its way into the right hands
You know,
as quickly as it should.
I think that there is a real issue there when it comes to funding, because I think that because Bahamians have not been traditionally allowed to invest in products that really support growth in their wealth in a very real way, funding is always going to be an issue. We're always on a credit line and not on a capital line. And so I think, what do you think about the policies that we have in place at the moment that are continuing to hamper that development and growth? Because if we were a market of natural, um, of natural forces, then we would have access, because we have a wealth of products and services locally. We have a wealth of um, minerals and things in the ground that we are supposed to be able to utilize, but we're not taking a chance. We're not really reaching to a potential that we should be reached.
I think, generally people respond to incentives. And speaking of policy, I think that, that there can be a number of more incentive-based policies to spur investment in the economy here. But, if you look at like pockets in the world where you see like explosive innovation occurring, there are ecosystems that support this level of explosiveness, right? When it comes to growth and development. And, that's kind of what we have to start looking at more holistically here, right? What elements are missing from our active, ecosystem, right? And one of the elements that's clearly missing is, early stage investors, right? We saw with Arawak X, there was a huge drive towards, crowdfunding, pooling capital, right, on a large scale. Let's come together and make some things happen, right? Crowdfunding concept works well in many places. But that's only one part of the market, right? Where you see the most risk occurring is on the venture capital level, angel investing, right? Venture investing level. And this is where companies need capital, they need experience to actually be de-risked and to experiment with new ideas and concepts, and to actually push boundaries that are going to lead to the development of new policies, right? That are going to sustain these new industries. But where do you get that? You can't have that creativity. It's like a chicken and egg situation unless you have
Certainly.
that capital cushion to really support it, right? And so we're going to have a bit of a push and pull approach with our approach to the market. So what I didn't mention is that the first fund we plan on launching next year will be a private equity fund. Okay. Now we're ramping up with the alternatives first, because the timing is critical. If you saw what happened with gold over the last couple of months, I'm just glad that we had our position on, right, ahead of that the big boost. So we caught that. We were holding treasuries until the market popped, but just before the market popped, our trading indicators went off, and we put on our gold position just in time. And so, the timing is critical when it comes to investments, period. Right now as well, for why we're rolling out the digital asset fund next, is because the imminent halving with Bitcoin in March, April next year, we're going to see some major price action and volatility leading up to this major event, the halving, where basically the amount of Bitcoin that's produced every block is going to be cut in half once again. It happens every 4 years. And so with this next halving event, there's this predictable volatility in the market. You can't predict exactly what the price level is going to be, even though many people try to do so. But you can certainly bet on increased volatility. And so we want to be in the market, and we want many Bahamians to be in the market before this, so that we have the chance to actually change some lives, right, and generate some generational wealth in this country. And so thirdly, the real estate fund, that's also coming at now at this time, because there's a lot of development opportunities throughout the country, right? Nassau has a huge opportunity before itself in the revitalization of downtown. That's something that's near and dear to me. We see the momentum going with that right now from the new cruise port terminal. It's sensational. It's really impressive to anyone who goes there, and it's world class. And it just goes to show the potential of what we can do downtown Nassau. And then the Family Islands, breathtaking beauty, diverse ecosystems, and honestly, it's some of the most unique and in virgin territory, real paradise, right? And even us locals who see it all the time are still astonished by the beauty. And so there's a lot to be done on the Family Islands in terms of development, in terms of financial inclusion as well, right? And so the real estate development is going to put anchor projects into some of these family islands. That's going to create deeper and stronger economic ties throughout our archipelago, and also obviously foster the need for more interconnectedness. And that's why it's good that we have the sand dollar as well to support all of this too.
Well, I certainly think that AGIO is going to play a very big role in the development of our country within the next 10 years. So I am so grateful of all of the information that you have been able to share with us, Brian. We're really looking forward to how we invest in some of these funds, and we're hoping that some of these funds will really result in more development, more growth for Bahamians financially and also for the country at large. So Brian, we really thank you so much for being on Tech Hour today. Tell us where we can find more information about the funds, about you, about your organization, and how can we connect?
Absolutely. Sounds good. So you can certainly check out our website is agiodigital.com. Our app is actually a web-based app. So you just you put in our URL, it's agio.app. So agio.app. And you'll go straight into our app. You can set up a digital wallet on there. You can set up a company. You can set up a company and a wallet, right? Up to you. And then, like I said, we're going to activate the trading facilities in the next week or two. So the timing would be good to get onboarded, get through the KYC process, and take it from there. And we're on all the different social medias. You can follow us on Twitter or X now. As well as you could connect with me on LinkedIn, and my handle on Telegram is Bees Knees 100.
All right, Bees Knees 100. Well, like and subscribe to their pages, guys. AGIO Digital, they are really making some strides within the industry. And thank you so much for being on the show, Brian. I hope to have you back next time to talk about some of these products, particularly after launch, because we want to know and hear how things are going and how Bahamians have been able to benefit. So again, thank you so much for being here. And guys, as always, Tech Hour is here in effect. We're looking to talk to industry leaders across the globe about tech and how we have been able to establish great relationships. Till next time, I'm your host, Simone Smith-Bean, and this is Tech Hour.
My hair is long.